I'm so excited to talk to Rebecca Faulkner about the impact of environmental toxins on our mental health. Let me briefly introduce her before I bring her on. Rebecca Faulkner is a board-certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Rebecca is also a registered dietitian and completed a Bachelor's of Science in Dietetics at Oakwood University. Rebecca has completed a Master's of Science in Nutrition in 2007 at the University of Alabama. Because of her passion for health and wellness, Rebecca's clinical philosophy is focused on treating her patients holistically. Therefore, she includes nutrition and wellness strategies in the patient's treatment plan to promote optimum mental health. Rebecca opened her virtual nutritional psychiatric and group coaching practice in April 2021. Her focus is on addressing root causes such as gut health, nutritional tune-ups, reducing environmental toxins, stress management, sleep, stabilized blood sugar, and so much more. Most of all, her goal is to make healthy lifestyle habits sustainable and deliciously doable. So, hi, Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining us for the Mental Health Break podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
So I'm so excited to talk to you about today. We're going to be talking about environmental toxins, but I just briefly shared some background information about you. But can you tell me a little bit about your background as a registered dietitian and then what got you interested in this field?
I became a registered dietitian many, many years ago. That's in my old life prior to going into the field of nursing. And I was always interested in just wellness and eating healthy. And so I was in different directions. Should I focus in music, or should I do nutrition, or should I just go on to medical school? So I decided on nutrition, worked as a dietitian for about 7 years in different settings: hospital, home health, outpatient, community health center. And I just felt like I wanted to do more. So I moved on into the field of nursing and then eventually became a nurse practitioner. Specialty is psychiatry. And so that's how I went from nutrition right into nursing.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's quite a career. And I'm sure over the training, you've accumulated a ton of information and expertise in so many areas. And it was your expertise in so many areas that caught my attention. But also your interest in environmental toxins having an impact on our gut health as well as on our overall mental health. So can you speak more to what is considered an environmental toxin, and then how does that ultimately impact our mental health?
Oh, that's a really, really good question. Okay, so an environmental toxin can be heavy metals, for example, mercury, aluminum, lead. You can also have toxins, have chemicals, whether it's in BPA, bisphenol A. It can be toluene, parabens, fragrance. All of those can, over time, slow down our detoxification pathways. Our liver is the primary detox organ. And over time, the constant bombardment from our soaps to the water, to the lotion, to skincare products, we're hitting our body all day, every day. And what I find is so interesting, there was a study on bisphenol A and phthalates, how they can deplete zinc from the body. And by depleting zinc from the body, that interferes with neurotransmitter development. That's one way it can affect our mental health. Some of these toxins, for example, lead, that can build up in the brain, the liver. Aluminum can build up in the brain as well, and it can manifest in mental health disorders, including other metals such as mercury. We can go on and discuss other common metals and toxins and how it impacts the brain. So over time, it can form lesions. It can cripple the mitochondria, the little engines that gives us the energy. And most clients that I see are mostly complaining of low energy. So over time, it builds up and it hits our mental health, it hits our sleep, and it also hits our physical health.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't actually think about the amount of damage it does. But I remember, like, even 10 years ago when I was looking for makeup that didn't have parabens in it. I would go into Sephora and I was like, I want something that doesn't have parabens. And they're like, it's not that much in it. It's just a tiny little amount. It's going to have no effect on you. But what they fail to understand is a little bit in my lotion, a little bit in my deodorant, a little bit in my
Absolutely.
toothpaste, a little bit in my shampoo, all of that starts building up, right?
Yes.
And when we look at everything that we're using, it's all chemicals.
Yeah.
And it's affecting us. It's affecting our endocrine system, our hormones, like you said, our gut health, and then our brain.
Our
Um,
immune system, it just hitting different areas. And it's just the low chronic exposures, what people don't realize is the daily persistent over time. And so that is why, like, I was thinking there has to be more than just writing a prescription. We need to look under the hood.
Totally. But I know that people, when I talk about this in practice, my patients feel overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, on top of cleaning my diet, now I have to clean my environment. I just don't want to do any of it. And I'm going to let happen whatever happens. But it becomes costly over time, right? Because it's going to lead to all these other illnesses. And when you go to a conventional doctor, they might just say, well, take this pill and take this treatment, without really going under the hood and seeing, okay, what is causing these issues? Like, I did have amalgams, mercury-filled amalgams in my teeth. I removed those. But we don't even, like, for example, we don't even make the connection that our oral health can contribute to our mental health.
Absolutely.
And so one thing I wanted to ask you is, environmental toxins is considered a stressor in the body. And one of the areas that you specialize in is stress management. But in many ways, people only focus on the emotional aspects of stress and not as environmental toxins being a stressor on the body and causing problems. So you kind of touched on that, but can you speak a little bit more about how environmental toxins can be a stressor? Go a little more in depth with that, as far as, like you said, the impact it has on our gut, on our brain, and how that can ultimately make us sick.
Okay. For example, I like to talk a little bit about mercury, which is a toxin, a heavy metal, because it can damage brain tissue. And so it hits the brain tissue. It can affect memory. It can affect tremors, weaknesses, fatigue, even impact mood. So if it's damaging the brain tissue, that's going to be a problem. Also, it can hit immune function. It can also impact, as you said, hormonal health. It can even interfere with displacing minerals that our body needs. For example, lead can displace calcium, and because it's on the same part as the periodic table, and it has similar properties. So it can manifest as if it's calcium, but down the road, you can develop osteoporosis. I hope that's pretty clear, because it's going to present as if it's the mineral, but it's not. It's displacing. It's blocking what the mineral needs. And so that can cause stress on the body. And that builds up the toxic levels, overload in the body. Another example that comes to mind is zinc. If zinc is deficient, you can have cadmium overload. And cadmium is a known carcinogen. There was an article that I was reading about the impact of lead and cadmium in psychiatry. And it was suggesting that cadmium can affect mood, anxiety, depression, even psychotic symptoms. So it's causing stressors that the body is unable to remove these foreign materials or elements that should not be there. It may store it in our fat cells because in a way to protect us, to sequester those minerals there versus allowing it to flow into our bloodstream. And so that's a stress response in itself, in being where it's not supposed to be, that the body is working hard to keep us safe and from that mineral causing further health problems.
Wow, I felt stressed just listening to all that.
I hope that was clear.
It was very
overwhelm you.
No, it was very clear. But like we were just talking about earlier, we don't think about the impact that all this is having. And unfortunately, we are living in a very toxic environment outside of our bodies, and our bodies are doing the best they can to figure out how to navigate life as we know it, with all of that happening, standing in the way, right? Like you said, it stops the process. These chemicals are mimicking what our body thinks as nutrients, and then it disrupts our endocrine. It messes up our hormonal balance. And I can understand for people listening and for my patients that it is an overwhelming conversation. And I'm not suggesting that we go and do it all at once. Like even with my teeth, I didn't take everything out at once. I took them out one at a time. First of all, I don't like to go to the dentist that often, but my goal was to reduce the load. Even with the parabens, I started with focusing on just the parabens, moved on to phthalates, moved on to BPA. Well, actually, it started with BPA because of my daughter was a baby at that time. So I was really focused on reducing the load for her. And then eventually making sure there's no phthalates, there's no parabens, there's no all these other chemicals. So it can be overwhelming. Is there a suggestion that you have as to how we can get started on reducing our load?
That's a very good question. And we could, let's say, for example, let's start with the organophosphates, which are pesticides. And we hear in the media, and we hear that we're supposed to eat fruits and vegetables. Now, one rule of thumb that I like to share with clients is the environmental working group. They have the Dirty Dozen and they have the Clean 15. The Dirty Dozen, you want to purchase organic. Here's a good reason why. There was a Harvard study that looked at children who had high exposure to organophosphates or pesticides. They had more severe symptoms of ADHD. Just by changing to organic option of your berries, the most fragile or vulnerable fruits, berries, strawberries, grapes, go for organic options. Because not only can organophosphate affect academic performance, it can also affect behavior problems. It can affect learning. It can affect energy. And there's even some reports that it can even, over time, increasing our risk for cancer. So just choosing organic is another important one, the first step. The next easy thing you can do is to filter your water. There are so many metals, to my surprise, even medications that's in our water. Just by filtering your water, you are decreasing your load. You can do a home test to see exactly what's in your water. And one company for sure that I like is TapScore. They will send you the package. You can test your water, send it to them, and they will give you suggestions on what kind of filters you can use. That in itself is one way of decreasing your exposure.
That's such a valuable resource because we do drink a lot of, we need water to survive, right? And a lot of people cook with tap water. They, even my shower filter, I have to put a filter on my shower because we are absorbing all of that. And at the basic level, chlorine is what we're absorbing in our skin when we're washing our bodies in the shower and our hair. But TapScore is a really great resource. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yes. And then replacing your plastics with glass, because heat, oil, and abrasion, that can increase the migration of chemicals from the plastic into your food. So just those 3 steps in just starting out, you have significantly reduced your exposure. Of course, there's other things, little nuances like modified citrus pectin. There are studies done on that binder, which can hold on to the metals and remove it through your body. Lead is one metal that modified citrus pectin can help reduce out of your body and have it removed. So little things like that. I don't want to overwhelm the audience because there's just so many different tricks you can do to help reduce the exposure.
It's baby steps, like you said. Going on to the environmental working group, I've been supporting them for over 10 years. I love what they're doing. I love the information they share. And not everything needs to be organic. And that's why they have the Dirty Dozen, the Clean 15. And the Clean 15 are things that you can eat and buy non-organic. So it guides you in how to spend your money wisely. I save my glass bottles if it comes in a juice or whatever, and recycle and reuse them. So you don't have to necessarily go out and purchase additional glassware. If
Mhm.
you could just make
Right.
a choice to buy a glass bottle and that's a juice versus a plastic container, the glass bottle can be reused and
Yeah.
you can use it for other things. So little baby steps. We don't want to
Right.
overload.
No, it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, we're swimming in a sea of chemicals, a sea of toxins, a sea of metals. We just could only do what we can and just take it one step at a time.
Right. And that's what I said. It's taken me probably 10, 15 years to get to where I'm at. And I know I'm nowhere near where I should be, but at least I'm working towards it.
Yeah.
And that's what all of us can do, slowly making those changes. It took me a while to get rid of all my nonstick pans and make them all
Mm.
stainless steel. It took me a while to switch over from all plastic containers to glass containers.
Mhm.
It took me a while to get adjusted with not wearing perfume and using essential oils instead. So it's
Uh-huh.
just a lot of changes, but it took me a
Yeah.
long time.
Mhm.
Nothing overnight, and I don't want to overwhelm anybody. But speaking of reducing our load, do you also recommend, or what are your thoughts about detoxes and cleanses as a way to reduce the load on our liver and our gut?
That's a really good question. At first, I was kind of hesitant with the whole detox thing because in school we're not taught much about that. We're told, oh, we have organs that takes care of that. Until I realized and started taking courses, studying integrative nutrition and mental health, environmental health courses, I realized, wait a minute, this constant exposure can be a problem. And for a personal experience, as a young, relatively young person, I realized that my energy was starting to be very low. I started to crash easily. I noticed when I walk into a room, I started to forget. And I was like, what is going on with me? I'm too young for this. And so I learned through one of the courses that I took about hair tissue mineral analysis. And to my surprise, I had heavy metals such as aluminum, mercury, cadmium. I even had lead, which all explain why I was having this problem. It was not until I started detoxing infrared sauna at least twice a week, using modified citrus pectin. And mind you, this is not a quick fix. This takes time. And now going on 3 months, I notice that my brain is firing fast again. I'm not as tired. I'm on a vitamin mineral regimen, which has helped lift my metabolizing status from slow to fast, not too fast, but to a healthier status, and is going in the right direction. So now I can appreciate why detoxification is important. When you're doing a cleanse, it's not just, okay, we're going to drink some juice or we're going to eliminate this, eliminate that. But in that process, one critical process that I see that's missing in a lot of cleanses, having that binder, because you are mobilizing these metals in our body, and that can make someone sick. And so I can appreciate detoxification through saunas. If you have to go through a cleanse, of course, having your binder to help remove those metals out of your body and get your body running better. So now I totally respect that based on my personal experience.
So when I hear binders, I keep thinking about Mitt Romney's binders of women, just or whatever, just a notebook. It's a new
Mhm.
concept that I learned, and I didn't really know much about binders. Can you explain, maybe even to me and then to people listening that might not understand what binders are? And that citrus pectin that you're talking about, that's
Modified citrus pectin. It's like the rind of like the pectin in apples, on oranges. That is used as a binder to help remove. One other thing that I've added to my regimen is marine phytoplankton. Have you ever heard of that? The seaweed.
mm-mm.
It's really powerful. It's full of chlorophyll, has some omega-3 fatty acid in it, and you feel that immediate boost in energy, and it just helps with your focus and concentration. It's a mineral supplement, really small, really potent. And that also helped with the detoxification process as well.
I mean, I use spirulina and chlorophyll in my smoothies, but what is this that you're talking to exactly?
It's like the algae, heard of seaweed, algae? Okay, so that's the liquid version. So it's very powerful.
What's it called, the brand?
Marine phytoplankton.
Okay.
I can give you some more information about that. But it's really help with the detoxification process of heavy metals. Also can help with your balancing your minerals. It also help with increasing your omega-3s as well, because animals eat, if they're grass-fed, let's be clear about that. They're having high omega-3 from the grass. And so being that this is a plant-based supplement, this can help with the detoxification process as well. And you will feel the boost in energy and mental clarity.
Wonderful. Yeah. I mean, I'll share that in the show notes when you provide that information. But also, when going back to binders, can you explain exactly what they are, how they work, and what are some common ones besides what you just shared that people can incorporate into their daily routines?
So they bind I can tell you because I've been reading studies on modified citrus pectin, because they can help bind the metals out of the digestive tract and remove it out of the body. There's also activated charcoal, but the thing is with that, it can bind not just only the metals or what's not supposed to be there, put it that way. It can also deplete your body of nutrients as well. What I preference modified citrus pectin is because you're not going to lose all the minerals and vitamins as opposed to other binders, like the activated charcoal. Then you have bentonite clay that I've come across. So it's more of a gentler option that helps with the detoxification. So it works once the metals are mobilized in your body, it grabs onto it and then removes it. And you can remove those metals through urine. You will pee it out. And then for example, lead is removed from your body. It takes a while. It's not instant overnight, but over time, it will start removing it gently from your body.
And we don't want it to be a fast detox either, because then our body can reabsorb that. And so the binders prevent the metals to get back into our bloodstream, correct?
Yes.
So I'm looking at the way I'm trying to visualize it is that it's these little magnets that are going through our system, and then it just collects. Okay.
It's like a sponge just pulling it out versus allowing it to be circulating in our bloodstream. And then you have the risk of becoming sick from that.
Right. That, and then, like you said, it is trapped in our fat cells. So if we're losing fat really quickly, or if we're on any kind of diet, it should be, I'm assuming that you would add the binders to help you with the mobilization of the metals that are being released from the fat burning, right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Well said.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still learning about all this, and I think it's really important. I mean, I'm using the example, like when I think about my liver, I think about my pool filter, about how dirty it can get if I don't clean it regularly. It's like, it's a filter. It's supposed to, filter all the chemicals and the leaves and all of that through but I also, every 6 months I go and I clean it, and I'm amazed at how disgusting it can get. But I like to do it myself because I enjoy how clean it gets once I'm done with it. But yes, our organs are meant to filter all this, and it's supposed to do its job. That we do have our own filtration system in our body. But just like my pool filter, if there's a storm or there's a bunch of leaves and debris that's dumped into my pool, it's going to make that filter's job really, really difficult. So I need to go clean it, right?
Yeah, right.
And I see the same thing with my organs. Yeah, if I'm like, every once in a while I'm exposed to parabens, my body's able to flush that out. Or if I'm every once in a while exposed to lead or mercury, it might be able to do that. But like you said, we're swimming in a sea.
Yeah.
And it is an overwhelming process. And it's like our body's doing the best it can. So any support we can give it, from reduction to exposure to supporting it in any way to do its job, I'm all for.
Absolutely. And I respect it now, because before I didn't take it as seriously as I should. As I shared previously, when my mind started to slow down and I'm walking through, I'm like, why am I in here? I'm too young for this. And it's only when I start addressing with detox protocols that I've learned in the hair tissue course really makes a difference. And now it's not just the hair. Not everything it will manifest in the hair, but you can even remove things through urine tests. It will let you know for lead, stool tests for cadmium. So it's just different things you can talk to your provider about. Even a naturopath may be very well versed in this area to help you reduce those metals in our bodies.
And I do want to stress that this is not something you want to do on your own, because it can easily go the wrong direction.
Yeah.
These are toxins that can easily get reabsorbed. We can actually do more harm than good. So please talk to your provider, find somebody that actually understands detox and knows how to do it the right way. Don't do this at home by yourself.
No.
So besides the binders that you mentioned, are there any vitamin supplements or specific nutrients that you can recommend for the healing process of just making sure our body's healthy and strong and able to do the job that it's made to do?
One in particular that comes, which a lot of us are really low in, is magnesium. Magnesium is regarded as the relaxation mineral, especially for individuals struggling with anxiety. Our stress response is so high. We are depleted. When we are anxious, we have shallow breathing, which will increase our acid level and which depletes magnesium from our body. So I had noticed I had to increase my magnesium level, get a B vitamin complex regimen. Potassium was low. That's why I was dragging. That's why I was so tired. But just the easiest thing in context of this podcast, I would start with magnesium because it helps with mood. It helps with our neurotransmitter function, brain function, and also helps with lowering our stress response. That is one essential mineral. Also, multi-mineral, like I mentioned earlier, the marine phytoplankton, that can help with the detoxification process and support minerals because they are the spark plugs of life. So I would just start simply there and support our gut health.
The gut is a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother topic.
And that we could spend hours talking about as well, because the gut and our liver are working so hard to make sure that we are healthy and the majority of our immune system is in our gut. But the magnesium, we are all deficient in magnesium because of what's happened to our soil production. And I highly recommend everyone to take magnesium.
Right.
And then you can't, if you overdo with magnesium, the only side effect from what I know is you will have loose stools and diarrhea, right?
Yeah.
So you'll know.
It can even make you depressed if you overdo it. The mineral system is very delicate. Here's another example. When people are depressed, they're low in B vitamins, they're low in magnesium, also maybe low in copper, that trace element, but too much copper will be a problem. That can manifest as racing thoughts. It can manifest as, it can interfere with the neurotransmitter serotonin being produced. So it's a delicate system.
Right. No, the copper zinc blend that I have has very small trace amount of copper, but with magnesium, the first sign of overdoing it is diarrhea or loose stool. So that's a good indicator to say, oh, I'm overdoing it. Let me take less. But 400 milligrams is what I would recommend. What about you?
That's about it. And I tell clients, consider, magnesium glycinate. It doesn't hit the digestive tract as much as like magnesium citrate. You definitely may have that experience. Also, a magnesium threonate that crosses right into the blood, into the brain. So that is a really good option, and it doesn't affect your digestive tract. You won't have loose stools from magnesium threonate.
Okay, well, those are really good. I also
Mhm.
recommend Epsom salt baths for people
Yes.
that are
Mhm.
not into taking anything. They also have magnesium sprays you can use
Grace.
on your
Mhm.
body. And
Yes.
the way with magnesium, I mean, Epsom salt baths, it detoxes you and then puts magnesium back in your body. So you're getting a 2-for-1 there with the Epsom salt baths.
Yes.
So there are simple things we can do that are beneficial for our mind and our body, and it's relaxing so we're not feeling overwhelmed. So I do like that approach to it. So knowing what you know now about everything regarding environmental toxins and everything you've been learning as a psychiatric nurse, then nutritionist, what would you go back and tell your younger self about what you know now, and how would you do things differently?
Ah, I like that question. I would tell my younger self, think outside the box. It's more than just writing a prescription. There's so many holes that needs to be plugged to improve mental wellness. What I do now, what I weave in wellness tips, whether into the patient's treatment plan. We address nutrition, and now I'm adding in environmental toxins. I would tell my younger self to go ahead and dig deeper into the literature and find out more, learn as much as you can about nutrition, psychiatry, learn as much as you can of environmental toxin, and learn how to disseminate this information in bite-sized, practical, easy ways so clients and individuals can immediately add to their lifestyle and eventually start seeing mental health. It's more than just writing a prescription. This is the missing piece in psychiatry, and I'm so glad the International Society of Nutritional Psychiatry has made a statement concluding that nutritional psychiatry has a place in mainstream psychiatry. So just address all the different areas to helping clients improve their mental health.
It's all connected, isn't
It's
it?
all connected.
Yes, our mind, our body, it's all our environment that we're interacting with on a regular basis. It's all connected, and I'm so glad that the psychiatric nurses are focusing on nutrition, because a lot of medical professionals are not.
Well, see, the thing is, as a practitioner, there's such limited time to speak to patients about this. But we have to be creative. If it's just 5 minutes to just ask them, what are you eating? And then you'll know from there. For example, patients complain a lot about sleep, but not realizing they're drinking something with caffeine until 7, 8 o'clock at night. Of course, you're going to have problems with sleep. And it doesn't even make sense to even add a medication. Let's get to the root of the issue. My philosophy is going under the hood, get to the root of the issue versus just whipping out a prescription pad.
Well, I get the same pushback from some of my patients that come to talk to me about mental health issues. And they're just like, well, why are you asking me about what I ate for breakfast? Why are you asking me about how much sleep I'm getting? Why are you asking about what I'm drinking? It's like, all of that is super important for me. I don't deal with medication. I've never had to refer anybody out for
Oh,
medication,
good.
because I've had, when you're looking under the hood and going to the root cause,
Mhm.
you can treat the majority of issues people are having. Obviously, medication plays a part when it comes to mental or physical illness. But my approach is, try the changes and the lifestyle changes, the dietary changes. Look under the hood to see what are where is it breaking down. And then if all of that you're not successful with, and you still need the help of medication to help you get through it, then by all means go that route. But try all these other non-invasive, the least invasive methods first before going into something like medication. So that's my
Right.
philosophy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then again, that's another conversation. Medication can deplete nutrients from the body. So you're fighting a battle not just with environmental toxins, poor diet, but the medication itself can be depleting you of coenzyme Q10. It can be depleting you of B vitamins. So it's just the whole gamut.
Well, what you also mentioned was, we're getting it from the tap water, all this medication, that whether, even if
Mhm.
we're not prescribed that medication, if we're drinking unfiltered water, we
Yes.
are taking in all that medication along with pesticides and hormones and antibiotics and all kinds of stuff. So it's really important to be mindful and drink as clean and purified water as
As you
possible.
can. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I just wish, this was built into, conventional psychiatry curriculum. Is only until a provider starts learning on their own. And that's why I had to go back, restudy functional nutrition, get into other courses to understand really what's going on here. I didn't just prescribing what's really going on. And so this information is so valuable.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I know a lot of psychologists are excited about the possibility of being able to prescribe medication, and I never wanted to go that route. I would rather go the slow and steady route instead of the fast and quick Band-Aid approach. So I'm sure they're also working in other ways, but for me personally, it's really important for me to educate and empower my patients so that they're not dependent on me or medication. They can feel like they can make changes in their life and feel empowered to do so.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having this conversation with me. Where can people find you and follow you and work with you or get information from you? Where can people find you?
Well, I will be starting a group program called Nourish Your Calm, which will talk about all these different things, and I'm with you, coaching you every week. You can send me an email to info@naturallyrevitalizeme.com. My website is naturallyrevitalizeme.com. The focus is on nutrition for mental wellness. I would be happy to hear from you and see how we can work together.
Thank you for this valuable conversation and for the work that you're doing, and keep doing it, keep educating. It's one person at a time. And I hope that we benefit somebody at least from this conversation.
I really hope so too.
Yeah, it's an overwhelming topic, but at the same time, it's manageable and doable if you take baby steps and slowly work towards a goal of trying to reduce your load as much as possible, right?
Absolutely. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time.